Hey guys, it's HD here, and welcome back to a series I haven't touched in far too long, Code Breakers. If you're new here, we basically just take a game and explore the most ridiculous mods I can find for it, whether that be player skins, custom maps, or my personal favorite, physics changes. Since we're just getting back into this series, I thought I'd kick it off with a bang, Super Mario Odyssey. The mods I found for this game are some of the most random but entertaining ones I've seen in a long time. One second you'll be collecting Pepsi cans in a knockoff Mario Kart map, and the next you'll be a super speed Geno collecting Chaos Emeralds. It's ridiculous what kind of things you can do in Mario Odyssey now. Just a reminder and a plug, I'm treating April as the month of Code Breakers, so there will be a new episode every Sunday. So just so you don't forget, maybe subscribe. Okay, cool, thanks. But with that out of the way, let's get into some mods for Super Mario Odyssey. Let's kick this off with definitely one of, if not the best, quality of life improvements, infinite cap jumps. So obviously Cappy is a major element to this game, but you can only use them to jump off one time. Then you have to touch the ground or grab something in order to reset it. But now you can jump off him all you want. This makes the game a lot easier as you can just fly to any area you want and skip any sections you please. It also removes the need for infinite jump glitches, so no more nut jumps to reach those tough areas. It'd be interesting to see just how much you could get out of this mod or how much of the story you could just fly past. Sadly, the levels do have a ceiling, so you can't just float up infinitely. And Cappy still behaves like normal, so you can't jump off them after doing a wall kick. But I'm also giving you guys a heads up, so if you see any point in the video where I jump off Cappy multiple times, now you know why. Oh my. This level's title kind of speaks for itself. Fight 6 bosses at once. But at the same time, there's a little more to this level than this may show. So it's held in Cascade Kingdom as a sub-level. You have to come up to this pipe past the chain chomps next to this sign that teaches you how to spin throw. So actually entering the pipe, you'll notice that there's no bosses in sight. Turns out there's a big, pretty dang difficult parkour section you have to go through in order to prove you're even worthy to fight the mega boss. Starting off, you'll be at a slope section, you have to carefully land on these little ledges. Afterwards, you'll end up in an empty Shiveria town. Climb up the pole and run all the way around up to this bridge to hit this P-switch. This will activate a quick grass path that you have to stay on in order to reach this Potaboo launcher. Capture it, fly over, and you'll land on this pipe. Take it all the way over, fall up the other side, get caught by a moving platform, and travel over to the next section. Look at Mario's nose. This time, it's the empty Waterless cavern from the Lake Kingdom. Jump over the spikes to reach this section with another rising platform. As it's taking you up, you'll run into a ceiling that clips you through the platform. So, about halfway through you have to jump off it and land here. Perform some high jumps to reach the top of the temple, and then after the platform clears that ceiling, jump back onto it. This finally takes you over to the checkpoint, and more importantly, the 6 bosses. You get a little break after all your hard work by getting to watch all the bosses that spawn in and their respective cutscenes. As soon as one's finished, another one just starts playing. It's funny to see them all just spawn on top of each other as they kind of just merge together to form one large ball of destruction. When you do finally get to take control of Mario, oh boy does this game chug. I'm sure part of this is due to my computer, but the creator even said adding one more boss will crash the game, so it's also due to the game not simply being able to keep up with the chaos going on. As you can see, it's very difficult to even land a single hit on any of these bosses, and if you get hit by one, you're sure to be greeted with 3 more projectiles right behind you. So I should probably introduce you to the crew that makes up the Mega Boss. Kicking it off is Bowser, followed by Madame Brood and her Chain Chompkins, Mollusque Lancer, the Ruined Dragon, Torque Drift, and last but not least, Robo Brood. Yikes. You're probably wondering how I did. Well, not too hot, honestly. I was able to stay alive long enough the first time to kill the Ruined Dragon and then Madame Brood, but after landing 2 hits on Bowser, there were just too many projectiles to keep up with, and I ended up dying. Even with assist mode on, by the way. Meaning I had to start over from the checkpoint. I'm sure I could beat them all if I gave it a couple more tries, but I'm pretty sure a moon just spawns in after beating them, and that's that. But my god, is this a difficult fight. I challenge you guys to try this one and see if you can complete the challenge. Overall though, it's a very good challenge level. The parkour at the beginning section alone could have been its own level, so just the title of 6 bosses is pretty misleading, honestly. Yeah, that last map was cool and all, but the cardboard recycling / Baling map is far superior. This mod is a fever dream. Starting off, the default Mario skin is replaced with an invisible model, and Cappy becomes a cardboard box when you throw him. But that's just a side feature of the mod. Travel to the Sand Kingdom and go down this hole in the sand. You'll be greeted with this on the other side. A state-of-the-art cardboard baler, complete with real cardboard boxes. The only description this mod has on the page is, "This mod is based off of my work in real life. I've been making cardboard bales for many years." Smiley face. So that explains a lot, but it doesn't really make the mod any less concerning. No offense at all to the creator or his passion. It's just so unique that there's a mod of Super Mario Odyssey that simply changes a sub-level at the bottom of a desert into a cardboard baling simulator. If you move at all, the camera will join you inside the room and you're free to smash all the boxes with our Cappy cardboard box. If you stand in certain spots, the block will come down and smush you. But luckily, that's really it. Probably the best mod this game has to offer. I'm not really sure how you could possibly top this masterpiece. Next up is a welcome one, Yoshi. As you can see, this mod replaces Mario's default skin with Yoshi. Or you can technically put costumes on to create monstrosities such as this. But in all seriousness, the model is very clean, as I believe they just took the model from Yoshi that's already in the game. This is awkward. And it also replaces Cappy with the top of an eggshell. Now you can swim around all the water you want, which normally isn't possible when you capture Yoshi. A fun mod if you want a familiar face to play as, but don't expect any changes to the character itself, as you still need to capture the real one if you want to flutter or grab a wall. So, you've booted up Mario Odyssey for the 200th time and are met with this screen again. No matter how many times you try playing with detached Joy-Con controllers, it'll still show up. So naturally, someone made a mod that shows love to the Pro Controller. Now when you start up Odyssey, you'll be greeted with this. And just so people don't forget, they also remind you not to throw said Pro Controller. This is one of my personal favorites in most games, removing the HUD. This mod, simply titled Clean UI, gets rid of everything from the screen, leaving you with just Mario and the open world. This one could be helpful for getting cinematic shots, thumbnails for YouTube, and of course, playing the game. You won't see anything pop up on your screen when collecting coins or moons, so it makes everything really smooth. Other control elements still pop up, like when you enter first person, which is kind of a bummer, and you can still see your air meter when going underwater. But even if you take damage, you won't be able to see how much health you have left, so you gotta kinda keep track of that in the back of your head if you're playing through the game. But overall, a very welcome quality of life mod that makes the game look that much more beautiful. Well, you may notice we're back on the Yoshi skin, but that's only because he fits the theme of this next mod. You can even see it slightly in the distance. Poochy as Jaxi. This replaces the Jaxi model, so it's a tad buggy when he shoves half of his head into the floor. Stop it, you're embarrassing me. But he's still fun to ride around on, especially as Yoshi. So if you were tired of collecting moons with the regular Jaxi, or doing a playthrough as Yoshi, I'd recommend this cute little boy instead. This one's pretty unique. The mod adds Bowser to the Mushroom Kingdom. In the regular game, you only get the chance to capture him at the end of the final boss fight and during Darker Side, I think. So, now he's on the roof of Peach's castle, just floating around up here. I'm guessing the creator had to make him float as he'd clip into the roof when you capture him, like you see here, but now you have free control over him in a pretty big open world. Peach is also just resting on your shoulder here, so my first thought was to bring her to the other Peach just chilling on the balcony. I'm sure this was really traumatizing for the both of them. What's interesting is that the NPCs will freak out when you walk over to them as Bowser. I honestly don't remember if you ever interact with NPCs while normally controlling Bowser, so it's weird they have it programmed in to act scared. But they could also just have a default animation if any enemy Mario captures walks up to them. Not positive on that, but I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments. Yay. Bowser was never programmed to interact with a lot of things in Odyssey, such as slopes. He kind of just repeats a falling animation over and over. Water is really weird too, as it kicks Mario out of the capture, which you normally can't leave Bowser once you're in there, freeze in place, and then plummets through the floor. Sorry, Peach. It's cool to see Bowser in a new environment interacting with things he never was supposed to. Speaking of Bowser, I feel a little bad that he never got any skins like Mario has. So this mod adds Dry Bowser to the game. The model is super well done and looks really good in cutscenes. If Mario Odyssey ever got a hard mode, I feel like this is what Bowser should look like. He makes for a lot more intimidating opponent, and especially during the final fight rematch. They even added a whole new painting for him. When you're able to take control of him, you can get a really good look at the model. There's also a custom 2D model for him firing blue flames. But again, if you're playing through a hard mode of the game, or Floor's Lava mod, this is a very fitting boss to have. Oh, what? Guys, you shouldn't have. So, you may have seen this mod before, but it's pretty self-explanatory if you haven't. All the floors in all the kingdoms have become lava, making it a very difficult task to get from point A to point B, wherever that may be. To my knowledge, it is possible to beat the game with this mod, but I don't think you could actually 100% it. Boss fights will also be a whole new challenge as you have very little ground to work with. I personally love this mod, and it really changes how well you think you are at platforming. You'll have to do some pretty advanced movement to reach certain areas, but that's kind of what it's all about. Like it says, the floor is lava, so touching the floor means you have very limited time to find a patch of land and save yourself. The more difficult part, staying on said patch of land, as Mario's speed gets jacked up for a few seconds. I'd love to try a playthrough of this someday fully, as I already enjoyed visiting a few of the levels just to see what they looked like. Warning, what you are about to see when Mario turns around cannot be unseen. I'm not responsible for any emotional trauma this causes. Ready? I'm not. So I think you can guess the title of this mod as Mario decides to go clean shaving and his iconic mustache is no longer with us. After seeing this mod, I'm really thankful Nintendo gave Mario a mustache, as right now he just looks like Rob from the local plumbing supply. Unfortunately, this model carries over through all the costumes, including the Mario 64 one, so there's no escaping this. The only time I could see his signature mustache was after capturing some enemies. Some well-needed normalcy. But I really don't want to look at him for longer than I have to, so let's move right along. So, in the Moon Kingdoms, Mario behaved like he was there, having a high jump and slower fall, as well as a few other small details like running slower and diving. Well, this mod takes those properties and applies them to all the other worlds as well. So more or less, it's a moon jump code, but it also has the other lower gravity effects. You can use it to reach areas faster and more efficiently, or clear large gaps you weren't able to before. It's a nice mod and sort of makes the game easier as platforming won't be as difficult. So the burning question on everyone's mind, what happens if you go to the moon now? Do you have even lower gravity, or does it just stay the same? Neither! Mario now behaves like he is on Earth and has regular physics. So I guess the creator just flipped the values of the Earth and the moon, or some weird bug occurred without them realizing. But sort of two mods in one here, as you can play the Moon Kingdoms with regular gravity. Moving on to a classic custom map, Bianco Hills from Super Mario Sunshine. Of course I had to include a Sunshine map. This replaces Cascade Kingdom entirely, and you can even see the name from the Odyssey. This map is packed full of detail from the original as well as some new Odyssey elements. There's a total of 11 new shine sprites to collect, which is another feature of this mod, changing the mods over to them. Some of the shines are the same general area you'd find them in the game, like the two PD Piranha fights, but my two personal favorites were new ones. Near the top of the windmill, you have to hit a P switch and race all the way back to the bottom across the river. The time is kinda tight, so you have to be really fast. The other one I loved was stacking 10 Goombas on top of each other, as you basically explore the whole map as there's only 10 in the level itself. The Odyssey doesn't land in the usual spawn spot, so you'll have to travel back there, but you'll be greeted to Yoshi. There's fruit scattered all around the map for you to find again. I was sort of shocked when the cave at the top of the hill had a loading zone, but it just teleports you to the other secret cave entrance. Overall, a very fun kingdom, and I loved seeing Bianco Hills in HD with all the new elements. Sticking with the classic Mario games, let's move up to Mario Galaxy 2 with Cloudy Court Galaxy. Right off the bat, this level looks absolutely beautiful. It replaced Seaside Kingdom, so it's got that sunset lighting. The stage now contains 8 new moons, 2 of them being multi-moons, and they're shaped like stars. Some of the stars you collect as you travel through the galaxy, and others are hidden away that you really have to explore for. My favorite was this one titled Good Luck Recovering from this, as I was so close to having the timing of the cloud spawning perfectly with collecting the star. You can even see the dang corner sticking out here, but I just miss it completely when I take back control. Another cool feature are the slingshots disguised like launch stars. They behave the same way like they would in the original game. Later in the level you get a nice 2D section which actually stays locked in 2D, so the platforming is super smooth. Then you get to take a launch star over to an island where you get to collect 5 silver stars for a multi-moon. Fun fact, the same individual who made the map for Bianco Hills also made this level, so no wonder there's so much detail put into it. The next mod is, without a doubt, one of the best quality of life improvement mods this game has. I'm showing clips of it in action right now, so try and see if you can figure out what it is. It makes movement so much smoother and saves you from a lot of, rage. Bonking! Whether you're rolling or diving into a wall, Mario will stop and fly backwards, halting all the momentum you just had. I used to be big into speedruns for Mario Odyssey, and nothing would infuriate me more than having clean movement, feeling like a god, and then a tiny little railing comes along and puts me right back in my place. It's a humbling experience, but my god does it happen far too often. So this mod removes pretty much any possibility for Mario to bonk. You can dive headfirst into walls, and Mario will walk away completely fine. Like I said, just moving around kingdoms is so much more enjoyable. Long jumping at certain walls and objects will even give you the chance to wall kick off of them, which is a lovely side effect. I don't think I'll ever turn this mod off, but if I do, it'll be a real painful thing hearing that dreaded sound again. Moving on to a staple mod of pretty much any game, Super Speed. The creator actually included 3 different files: Speed Mod, Slower Speed Mod, and 100 quadrillion speed. 100 quadrillion. Okay, let's see about that. Oh my god. Well, before we get there, let's check out the original, which was just the speed mod. As you can see, he was not lying. Mario do be going faster. A lot faster. Luckily, I guess, the speed doesn't transfer when you're jumping or cap diving, so you can kind of use that to stop yourself. It's pretty much the only form of control you have, because unless you're in the Sand Kingdom with a massive amount of flat land, you really aren't able to control Mario well enough to play like this. You'd have to either be tassing the run, or using obnoxious amounts of jumps and crawling around. It's fun to absolutely dust the Koopas in free running though. Pretty much set a world record here in Mushroom Kingdom with a 7-second run. But let's move over to the slower speed version, because this one's still really hard to control. Sure enough, Mario still runs at a lot faster pace than normal, but it's a lot more manageable. It almost reminds me of the speed from those rocket flowers. You can actually see where you're going with this one and what's ahead, so I could see people actually playing through the game with this speed. Side note, the creator doesn't mention anything about this on the page, but I'm pretty sure this mod also makes Mario's ground pound jump higher as well as his long jump. I thought the long jump was just a side effect of having too much speed, but it doesn't really explain why the ground pound jump does too. The speed boost also doesn't seem to transfer to the Moon Kingdom, so that's kind of a bust. These kingdoms definitely have some special movement physics, but I'm still sort of surprised that the speed doesn't change at all. Anyway, the moment you may have been waiting for. It's time to strap on the 100 quadrillion speed mod. I was absolutely terrified to even move when I first spawned in, and let me just state for the record, I tapped my control stick. I tapped it. Like, gave it the smallest poke you can possibly imagine. And within 2 frames, I warped from the Odyssey across to the top corner of the world's boundary on the opposite side of the level. It took the camera a while to catch up, but when it did, I was plummeting back down into the world. I tried again, this time in an enclosed space, crazy cap. I tapped up once, warped to the desk, tapped again, and phased through the collision and hit the door to walk outside. Out here, I was able to clip inside the building for a second, so I thought maybe I was safe, practically blew on my control stick again, and it caused Mario to do this, and warp again to the back corner of collision. So, was this guy bluffing with 100 quadrillion? I'm not really sure, but I'd honestly believe it. Over in the Snow Kingdom, I was able to achieve greatness. Moving without just flying to the edge of the world. I teleported from one end of the actual world and then back to this wall. So this kind of gives you a visual example of just how fast we're going. This is 1 frame, a 60th of a second. And Mario's already there, like he's already over there. The only delay is just the camera catching up. One edge of the world to another in a frame. That's pretty insane. After those 2 teleports I was able to capture, my tapping skills were never the same as I was only able to clip to the world boundaries after that. The only 2 things I could see this variation of the mod being useful for is clipping out of bounds and making some jank playthrough where you can only move while jumping or rolling. Because the second that control stick moves while Mario is on the ground, you're as good as dead. Moving on to one of the coolest skins I could find, Samus from Metroid. This is probably a custom suit, as I don't think Mario has the body to fit the original. But look, you can see his face through the helmet. This replaces the space costume, so you won't be able to play as Samus if you're just starting a playthrough. It's neat to see Mario in just a suit while you're throwing Cappy as the helmet comes clean off. You don't get to fire anything out of the blaster, but if you've been craving a new 3D Metroid platformer, this may be the best we got for now. Oh boy. This mod sounds fun on paper, but it's actually pretty rough at times. It's your standard Mario Odyssey, however the controls change every time you collect a moon. Meaning, after every one of those little cutscenes of collecting one, everything on your controller randomizes. The only exceptions are your left and right control stick that will still control Mario. But oh, don't worry, the action for pressing in the control sticks is still randomized. So for example, the footage you're seeing on screen now had the following button layout. Pressing the right stick in became jump. Throwing Cappy was ZL. Ground pound was the plus button, and diving was A. You can see me attempt to cross this gap, but trying to grasp the button layout was pretty difficult. It doesn't help that the snapshot, pause, and map buttons become random as well, so I had a whole lot of random interruptions even just trying to collect another moon. Which is another killer in this whole mod. By the time you even get the button layout slightly under control and memorized, you collect another moon, and you have to start all over checking each thing. Is it a fun challenge to make Odyssey difficult? Yes. But if you're not fully committed to this mod, you'll get tired of it pretty quickly. I enjoyed it for a little while as it made me feel like I was playing Mario Odyssey for the first time again though. I feel like another version of this mod should only randomize the left stick movements, as it's basically what I was expecting when I came across it, so maybe that's something I could see in the future. Pepsi. This mod replaces all the coins in the game with these beautiful blue cans of delicious nectar. That's all the praise I'm giving Pepsi though, as they just completely ignored my request for an actual sponsor of this segment. But regardless, I do love this mod and just think it's hilarious to see cans all over the level. Even the enemies you defeat were holding Pepsi with them. The coin rings are now also recolored to red, white, and blue. Honestly, the mod does make collecting coins a little more enjoyable, and watching Mario shoot out a bunch of cans when he dies is pretty great too. Pepsi, you really blew your chance for a sponsor. Pretty hurt over here. Well, that's a hard one to top, but if anything's gonna come close, it's this. So you're familiar with the new Donk City Festival where Pauline sings the Jump Up Superstar theme, right? Well, screw that song. You're familiar with the hit song Despacito, right? Might see where I'm going with this. Well, now the festival will be jamming out to that song. As soon as the concert starts, Pauline opens her mouth and somehow manages to sing guitar chords. Impressive on its own. This mod's gonna be kind of hard to showcase and prove, as YouTube will snap me out of existence if I play too much of it. So here's a little snippet that I hope YouTube passes, as I try to make as much background noise as possible. So, there you go. Use your imagination to imagine how the rest would sound. A good mod to add if you're trying to create the most obnoxious playthrough possible, but not much else other than that. Ever wonder what Seaside Kingdom would look like without water? Well, wondered no longer, my friend. Pretty self-explanatory mod, there's just no water left anywhere, so you can simply run around freely. Everything else stays the same, so Cheep Cheep and other things will just float around in the air. If you go to capture them though, they'll behave like there's no water, so you may not be able to do certain things now. It is fun to just run around, and they detailed everything underwater so well that it almost looks like they plan to have a version of Seaside with no water. You can get yourself stuck if you jump down into some of the deeper pits this level has, but you can just teleport somewhere else. I'm sure you could collect enough moons to progress to the next kingdom if you were playing story mode this way, but I doubt 100% would be possible, as you need some of the Cheep Cheeps for missions and stuff. Sorta sticking with the same theme, what if Cap Kingdom's objects, collision, and environment were all skewed from each other and Peach became 200 feet tall? This is what it'd look like. The mod is titled Chaos Cap Kingdom, and it sure does live up to its name. Seemingly at random, the creator shifted chunks of land around, made some objects larger or smaller, and just threw things around. There's no real pattern here that I could find, so it was just more meant to be experienced and appreciated. None of the load zones are in their proper place either, so they may still exist somewhere, but most of the doors would just result in death. I would love to see other kingdoms in this style where they basically just have an earthquake and I get to explore the aftermath. But please, Peach doesn't need to be that big, does she? Just a quick heads up and warning, this next mod will contain some flashing colors and kind of nauseating footage. It's not too bad, but if that sort of stuff bothers you or is harmful to you, please skip ahead to the next segment with a timestamp on screen. Alright, back to it. This mod is something I've always wanted since day one of Odyssey's release. I remember playing it for the first time and seeing the filters in snapshot mode. Some of them are pretty cool and makes the game look gorgeous. So what if you could play with them on? This mod does exactly that. It doesn't matter what filter you want, simply scroll through the options in snapshot mode, and after closing it, the filter will stay equipped. What you do now is entirely up to you. I'm sure you could play through the game with little to no issue for most of the filters, but some like the fisheye, good luck. Maybe you could combine the controls changing after every moon mod with these filters and have it randomized after every one. I feel like that'd be easier to manage. But personally, I just enjoyed exploring the worlds again with these new visions. Sure, most of these I could just create myself by adding effects to the footage afterwards, but actually playing the game with the blur and saturation filters is a really neat experience. Changing video game series entirely, a Sonic mod. This one swaps the moons for Chaos Emeralds, so just like the moons, the color of them will change depending on what kingdom you're in. The 2D moods sadly are still the same, but that's okay as they look really cool in the regular world. Yes, there are a lot of mods that actually change the moon's shape and design, but the Chaos Emeralds was too good to pass up. Sticking with not Mario, we have Kakariko Village from Ocarina of Time. It's not an actual kingdom, so it's in the nut plant sublevel of Bowser's Kingdom. Travel there, plant the nut, and ride the vine up. You'll spawn smack dab in the middle of the village, and now you are free to explore. The creator claimed it had 5 moons to find, but I found like 8 or 9. Some were already counted as collected and clear, which might have just been because I had an 100% save file. But then I found 2 real moons that I didn't have, one at the top of the tower and one inside a chest back here, so I'm not really sure. All the moons were clearly placed in these doorways and locations, so I'm not really sure how many moons there are supposed to be. You cannot enter inside the houses, but you can jump down the well where another moon is probably supposed to be, and use this guy from the Wooded Kingdom to get a nut. But I don't believe there's a spot to actually plant it. The area is rather small as it's just Kakariko Village, and there's not really a whole lot to do, so once you're done, you can simply leave through any of the regular exits, and just plummet back down through the sky to Bowser's Kingdom. Well, this next skin is probably one of the most highly requested characters in games like Smash Ultimate, Geno from Super Mario RPG. This strange character from the Mario universe hasn't really seen the light of day in over 20 years, so he's brought to life here. He replaces the caveman costume so you can unlock it pretty easily. Cappy is his blue cap like expected, and I love the wooden texture he gave Mario. Very cool to see that he's still loved by many, and people will do anything they can to keep Geno alive, because Nintendo clearly won't. Going back to Legend of Zelda levels, Dragon Roost Island from the Wind Waker. This lovely map ports over the island and fits the Odyssey art style just really well. The coins are now green rupees, and the Goombas have these cute little hats on them. The moons become Triforces, and there's a lot of new ones to collect. My personal favorite is having to make this tricky jump to this ledge where a secret Goomba is hiding that is needed for a Goomba switch below on this island. I had a lot of fun simply running around the island as this sort of movement isn't possible in Wind Waker itself, so it's cool to freely climb all over it. Unlike Kakariko Village, it does have loading zones with other areas like it would on the island, so there's a lot to explore. Mario Kart. It's a very popular Nintendo game, but now it's made its way into Mario Odyssey. In the back of Peach's castle in the Mushroom Kingdom, you will need the Mario 64 outfit to enter the door. But once inside, you'll be transported to an off-brand version of Baby Park. They added working cars in the form of just a replaced Jaxi, and I'd say it came out pretty well. Pretty much the only other option they probably could have done was the scooter model, but that's kind of small. Plus, with Jaxi, you can crash into stuff and sort of drift by braking. The moons you can normally get in the room aren't here, so don't expect a reward for going around 7 laps. Still, it's really cool to see different games in Mario Odyssey itself, pushing the boundaries of what mods can do for this game. I saved the best map for last. This is Yoshi Star Kingdom. It's a remake of Yoshi Star Galaxy from Mario Galaxy 2, and is definitely the most detailed and largest custom kingdom we have. It features a whopping 23 moons to collect, which, yes, are stars. While most of the kingdom is the same from Galaxy, there's a lot of new features and even new areas to explore. If you want an example of the level of detail they put in, look here with the Cappy stealing enemies. I don't really know their names, but you have to aim them towards the 3 boxes. There's a pipe, a moon, and a launch star. You even have to use the different levels as indicated by the red and blue ribbons. That is good design. So, the pipe leads you down to a 2D section that changes gravity in the pixel style. After completing that and collecting the star that's just right here, you can head back and take the launch star over to the next area. The blend of new Odyssey mechanics with the old Galaxy is really cool to see. I was playing on the 1.0 version of the game, which may have caused some of the graphics to glitch, like the Lumas only having their eyes appear, but I know that's just an issue on my end and not the level itself. The world has so much to do in it, and the new little details to explore, so if you want a new custom kingdom to play through, this may be your best bet. Okay, well, as much as I did love these mods, that's all the ones I really wanted to show off. I really hope you guys enjoyed looking at Mario Odyssey in such different ways, and it was a nice change of pace from doing glitches all the time. Before we wrap up, I need to give a huge shout out to everyone you see on screen now. They're the creators and ones responsible for these insane contraptions, and without them, this video definitely wouldn't exist. There will be links to everything in the description, and a good amount of the creators even have YouTube channels, so if Odyssey modding is something you are interested in, they have a bunch more content, like behind the scenes and how these actually got made. Again, the next episode of Codebreakers will be out next Sunday on the 10th, so definitely come back for that. If you need more Codebreakers to hold you over in the meantime and you can't wait the week, I did one on Breath of the Wild a while ago, and it's still my favorite video I've ever made to this day, so please check that out if you like this. But geez, this is the longest I've ever spoken in one of these videos now, so I'm gonna go rest my voice, and for now, I'm gonna get up out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, see ya!